Jungkook had always been an independent spirit, fighting through the odds of his harsh life. When his parents passed, leaving him in the care of his manipulative aunt, he thought he had seen the worst. But nothing could have prepared him for the day she sold him, an innocent, vulnerable gift, to a feared mafia leader for her own gain. The cold warehouse was dimly lit, shadows dancing on the walls. Jungkook stood in the center, wrists bound, heart racing as he awaited his fate. His aunt's cruel smirk was the last thing he saw before the sound of approaching footsteps echoed. Enter Taehyung, the mafia's enigma. With his tailored suit and unreadable gaze, he was the epitome of power. People whispered about him being ruthless, heartless, a man who had long abandoned the notion of compassion. Jungkook glared at him, his defiance shining through. "I know why you're here," he said, his voice trembling but determined. "And what you plan to do with me. But I'd rather die than become a victim of your lust." Taehyung raised a brow, clearly unimpressed. "Is that what you think of me?" he said, his voice calm, almost amused. Jungkook didn't back down. "Isn't that what this is? I'm just another possession for you to break." For a moment, Taehyung's eyes darkened, but then he sighed, stepping closer. "You have the wrong idea. I don't touch what isn't freely given. And frankly," he added, pulling a knife from his pocket, "your dramatics are unnecessary. I won't do anything, so stop being childish and throw that away." Jungkook blinked, confused, before realizing Taehyung was gesturing toward the broken piece of glass Jungkook had hidden behind his back. "Don't mistake me for a saint," Taehyung continued, his tones sharper. "I'm no hero, and your life is mine now. But if I wanted you in my bed, you'd know it. You're here for a different reason." Jungkook frowned, lowering the glass but keeping it in reach. "What reason?" Taehyung smirked, tilting his head. "You'll find out soon enough." Jungkook wasn't locked in a prison but a luxurious room that felt more like a gilded cage. The windows were barred, and guards loomed outside the door, but the space was lavish: silk sheets, an expansive wardrobe, and even a library. Taehyung visited daily, his presence a constant reminder of Jungkook's captivity. At first, Jungkook refused to speak to him, spending hours glaring out the window. But Taehyung's patience was endless. He never forced, never demanded. Instead, he observed. "You're not what I expected," Jungkook said one day, unable to hold back his curiosity. "And what did you expect?" Taehyung replied, pouring himself a drink. "A monster," Jungkook admitted, watching him warily. Taehyung chuckled, his laugh deep and unsettling. "Monsters don't show their teeth until necessary." The answer didn't comfort Jungkook. As days turned into weeks, Jungkook began piecing together Taehyung's world. The man was dangerous, yes, but he wasn't reckless. Every decision he made was calculated, every move purposeful. And for some reason, Jungkook intrigued him. "You have a choice," Taehyung said one evening, leaning against the door frame. "What choice?" Jungkook asked, skeptical. "Freedom or loyalty," Taehyung explained. "Help me with something, and I'll let you go. Or stay, and you'll find a place here." Jungkook hesitated. "Why would you trust me?" Taehyung's eyes bored into him. "Because I see more in you than you see in yourself." For the first time, Jungkook wondered if Taehyung wasn't just a captor but someone who could change the course of his life. The story explores Jungkook's inner strength as he navigates the complexities of Taehyung's world, peeling back the layers of the mafia leader's cold exterior. Taehyung, on the other hand, finds himself drawn to Jungkook's fiery spirit, questioning his own principles and the walls he's built around his heart. Their relationship grows from tension and distrust to something deeper, a bond forged in fire, survival, and understanding. As Jungkook challenges Taehyung's control, Taehyung teaches Jungkook the strength in vulnerability, proving that even in the darkest places, light can emerge. Jungkook's fists clenched as Taehyung left him alone in the grand room once again. Freedom or loyalty, the choice echoed in his mind, but it felt like a trap either way. He paced the room, replaying Taehyung's words. What could someone like him possibly see in Jungkook? A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. It wasn't Taehyung this time, but a woman with sharp eyes and a cold demeanor. Get dressed. You're coming with us, she ordered, tossing a neatly folded black suit onto the bed. Where are we going? Jungkook asked cautiously, eyeing her. Don't ask questions, she replied curtly, turning on her heel. Jungkook dressed quickly, his thoughts racing. When he stepped out, two men flanked him, guiding him through the mansion's labyrinthine halls. They finally emerged into a dimly lit underground room. Taehyung stood at the center, surrounded by his inner circle, his piercing gaze landing on Jungkook the moment he entered. You've joined us, Taehyung said smoothly, gesturing for Jungkook to come closer. What is this? Jungkook asked, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. A lesson, Taehyung replied, his tone laced with intrigue. The guards dragged in a man, bound and bloodied, and threw him at Taehyung's feet. Jungkook froze, his breath hitching as he took in the scene. This man betrayed me, Taehyung explained, his eyes never leaving Jungkook. And now, he'll pay the price. But I thought you might want to see how loyalty is rewarded, and how betrayal is punished. Jungkook's stomach churned. Why are you showing me this? Taehyung stepped closer, his voice a low murmur meant only for Jungkook. Because I need to know if you can handle this world. If you can stomach the truth of what I do. You wanted freedom, didn't you? Then show me you can survive. Jungkook's knees felt weak, but he refused to look away. You're testing me, he said through gritted teeth. Call it what you want, Taehyung replied, his expression unreadable. Jungkook didn't flinch as Taehyung raised his hand, signaling for the guards to take the man away. You've seen enough for tonight, Taehyung said, his voice softening slightly. Jungkook stared at him, trying to read the man's intentions. For a moment, he thought he saw a flicker of something, remorse, humanity, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. That night, Jungkook couldn't sleep. The man's gaze haunted him, but more than that, Taehyung's words lingered. The next morning, Taehyung found him in the library, flipping through a book he wasn't really reading. You didn't run, Taehyung said, leaning against the doorway. Where would I go? Jungkook replied without looking up. Taehyung chuckled, walking closer. You're stronger than you think. Jungkook closed the book with a sigh, finally meeting Taehyung's gaze. Why me? Why not someone who actually wants to be here? Because I don't need blind loyalty, Taehyung said simply. I need someone who questions, who challenges me. Someone I can trust not because they have to, but because they choose to. Jungkook blinked, taken aback. He wanted to argue, to push Taehyung away, but there was something disarming about his honesty. And what if I choose freedom? Jungkook asked quietly. Then I'll let you go, Taehyung replied, his voice steady. Jungkook searched his face for any sign of deceit but found none. You're confusing, you know that. Taehyung smirked, stepping closer until there was barely any space between them. "And you're intriguing." Jungkook's breath hitched, his heart pounding in his chest. For the first time, he saw the man behind the title, the cracks in Taehyung's armor. But just as quickly, Taehyung stepped back, his walls firmly back in place. "Think about what I said. I'll be waiting for your answer." Jungkook sat on the balcony of his gilded cage, staring out at the endless expanse of city lights below. Days yet turned into weeks, and the world outside felt like a distant memory. Yet, inside, his connection with Taehyung had grown in ways he hadn't anticipated. Taehyung was still a mystery, an enigma of contradictions. Cold and ruthless to his enemies, yet gentle in the rare moments they shared. Jungkook had come to see that beneath the stoic mask lay a man burdened by the weight of his empire. The night, though, was different. Taehyung had summoned him to the rooftop, a space Jungkook had never been allowed to see. When Jungkook arrived, he found Taehyung standing at the edge, the wind tousling his hair. A small table was set with 2 glasses and a bottle of expensive wine. "You're late," Taehyung said without turning around. "You're lucky I came at all," Jungkook replied, crossing his arms. Taehyung chuckled, finally facing him. "Sit." Jungkook hesitated but obeyed, eyeing the drink warily. "What's this about?" Taehyung poured the wine, sliding a glass toward Jungkook. "It's time for you to choose." Jungkook's heart raced. He had been waiting for this moment, yet now that it was here, he wasn't sure what he wanted. "I told you," Taehyung continued, "freedom or loyalty." "But I won't ask again." Jungkook swallowed hard. "And if I choose freedom? You'll let me go?" "Yes." Taehyung's gaze was steady, but there was something unspoken in his eyes. "And if I stay, then you'll be mine?" Taehyung said, his voice dropping to a low murmur. The weight of the word settled over them. Jungkook looked away, his thoughts a whirlwind. He had hated Taehyung at first, resented him, feared him. But now he saw the man behind the title. The vulnerability Taehyung tried so hard to hide. "I can't live in chains," Jungkook said finally, his voice trembling. Taehyung's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Then go. The door will be open in the morning." Jungkook blinked, surprised. Just like that," Taehyung confirmed. The following morning, Jungkook woke early, his bag packed and ready. The guards didn't stop him as he walked toward the front gates. His heart pounded with every step, the weight of his choice heavy on his shoulders. As he reached the exit, he paused, looking back at the mansion that had been his prison, and his sanctuary. Taehyung stood in the doorway, watching him leave. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes betrayed the pain he wouldn't dare voice. "Goodbye, Taehyung," Jungkook said softly, though he wasn't sure the man could hear him. And then he walked away. Months passed. Jungkook returned to the life he had before, but it didn't feel the same. He couldn't forget the man who had changed everything, who had given him a choice when no one else had. One evening, as Jungkook walked through the bustling streets, he felt a presence behind him. He turned, his breath hitching when he saw Taehyung standing there, dressed in casual clothes, a small smile playing on his lips. "You're not easy to find," Taehyung said. Jungkook's heart raced. "What are you doing here? I gave you freedom," Taehyung said, stepping closer. "But I never said I'd stop looking for you." Jungkook's resolve crumbled as Taehyung reached out, his hand brushing against Jungkook's cheek. "You're mine, Jungkook," Taehyung murmured, his voice full of quiet determination. no matter where you go, and for the first time, Jungkook didn't fight it. He let Taehyung pull him close, their lips meeting that spoke of everything they had been too afraid to say.